Hello y'all, it's Lucy and I'm here to show you how to make this cute little windmill. I made this one out of cardboard, but I've made others out of cardstock and they work. I put them on a cheese box and I think it's just a great fun decor to make. Okay, this is my inspiration for it. This is from a book called Tales Told in Holland. I remembered it from my childhood and found it at my mom's house, and that's the inspiration for the windmill. And on the sides I've got some bricks, kind of like this old house. I just think that's kind of a neat effect to suggest bricks without having to cover the entire side with bricks. So let's get started. Okay, so these are the materials you need. I used cardstock for this example, and this prototype is made out of 65-pound cardstock, and it's actually pretty sturdy. So you can use 65-pound cardstock, but I use 110 for this. And for the first two examples I showed you, those are made out of kind of lightweight cardboard. I think when you buy it on Amazon, it's like 30-point cardboard. And that's actually what I prefer to use, but I wanted to show you with the cardstock just because it goes together easier. It's easier to demonstrate. So you've got the cardstock, and then I use a relatively lightweight glue for this project because we're using cardstock and you don't need a lot of strength. If you're doing cardboard, I'd use one of the Aleene's stronger glues, Quick Dry or Fast Grab. Those are my favorite. I use a ruler to help me fold along the score lines, and then I use some little brads so that my windmill would actually turn. It's really a lot more fun if it turns. If you glue it down, people are still going to try to turn it and you may tear. So I think it's a little safer if you use these brads. This is slightly larger brads. They're easier to use. But I really like the smaller ones, but they are kind of a pain to put in place, and I'll show you when we get to that step. But right now, let's start out with scoring and gluing the main pieces to the windmill together. There are really three main structural components. This is the base, this is the top, and I consider that this goes on the top story. This is the little crown kind of thing, and then the walkway. So we have to make those three components, and then we'll work on adding the windmill, and then we'll glue it. Then eventually you glue it to your base. Okay, these are the main components for the structure of the windmill. This is the walkway. This is the base, the lower base. These hexagons kind of keep these two shapes in good conformation so they don't kind of get skewed. This is the main body of the windmill, and this is the top, the windmill blades, and then this is the decor I used around the cheese box that goes at the bottom. And that's what I used. You could use a gift box. You could buy a little round gift box, and it's made out of cardstock, and it bends easily, so it does go around a circular form very easily. But you could use whatever you want as the base. Alrighty, so let's get started. First, I'm going to show you how I fold along score lines. I cut this on my Cricut, but you can cut it by hand, but you're still going to need to fold along the score lines. Oh, these are the little bricks, and the little bricks are not directly a part of the pattern. I got them from using this cutout section for the walkway. Alrighty, let's start with the walkway. Let me move these out of the way. Okay, here is the walkway. So there is a line right along here, and it's really not hard in cardstock, but in cardboard you really do need to use a straight edge, or for some kind of funky little pieces sometimes it's hard to fold properly without using a straight edge. I like my steel ruler. It's got a nice square edge on it, and it's always round. Okay, so first this is actually the outside. So first you fold it towards yourself because the score lines work better that way, and then you fold it backwards. So that's the walkway. This is the very base of the windmill. And again, fold towards yourself, then away. So this is how the base will go. And now for the body of the windmill. And this definitely requires a straight edge because they're on an angle. So you have to kind of look and see where the score line is. I think, can you see the score line? And if I wasn't trying to record this, I'd like have my face all up in it. But since I'm trying to record it, I'm trying to keep my face out of this part of the video. And last is the little tiny top, which is kind of a pain. I actually don't use, these lines are so small. Let me see if you can see them. That I just use my thumbnail to delineate, to fold along these score lines. And that is the little top for the windmill. Alrighty, now let's glue some sections together. I'm going to remove my paper. And like I said, I'm using a relatively thin glue, barely art glue. I use art glitter glue a lot. And the tacky glues, like Eileen's regular tacky glue would work well. Elmer's Glue All is a good choice. It doesn't really matter. Paper to paper is easy. But you see how easy this squeezes out? That's why I like it. A lot of times I'll smear it a bit so that it will dry faster and adhere faster. Hey, Sunshine. That's my cat, Sunshine. I think she wants more food, even though she has some. She'll probably claw me in a minute. Okay. I hear you, Sunshine. Okay, that's the body. Now, let's make the walkway. Now, the walkway is bigger. Actually, let's do the base first. All right, the base is about this big, and if you glue it, sometimes it's hard to keep it in a good hexagon shape. That's why I added this piece to the pattern. So let's glue the side together. I hear you, Sonny. All right, and now to make sure it's in a good shape, I just apply some glue to these tabs and put the hexagon in, the 6-sided hexagon. And you can see how it helps it maintain a much better shape. And then press down because, you know, sometimes things don't want to stick. They can be frustrating. And that makes a much better base. So I'm going to leave that. I'm actually going to set it aside and put like a a little weight inside just to hold it down. All right, now let's make the walkway. We'll do the walkway the same way, and you'll see that especially for the walkway, this the hexagon piece really helps. See how, because the walkway is not as sturdy since it's got all the cutouts on it. So let's glue this together. I'm going to go ahead and apply glue to the tabs down at the bottom of the walkway. Yeah. Okay. Because I think it'll help hold it together. That's one reason. Okay. So let's smash that down. Yeah, that's much easier. And so you can see how the entire thing comes together. The base is glued to the walkway, and then the body of the windmill is glued on top. And I'm going to go ahead and put in the windmill because it's just a little easier if you've got this space. And I think I'll be able to glue the top on pretty easy. You can do it before or after. Either way, it's a bit of a pain. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to use the bigger piece. And one thing to do, you know, a brad has two little tines on it, two legs to it. And I'm going to separate these two little legs at least a little bit. So when I go through the hole, they're a little bit separated and I can pull them apart easier. So usually what I do is get some object, and I usually use an old pair of scissors. I'm going to sit this down a second, get my scissors. Okay, got the scissors. Now I'm going to separate the legs of the brad. I don't know if you can see it, but you know, I guess a popsicle stick would work if your fingers are long. All right, can you see? Let me see if you can see that brad's in place. All right, the other thing is, don't do it too tight or the windmill won't move. Now that we've got the windmill on, and I glued I actually duplicated two pieces for the windmill blades so that, so I could easily make it stronger. So I just glued two together. You don't have to do that. Like I said, you know, this 65-pound cardstock, but the blades are really pretty flimsy. Okay, glue the top on. And this is just one of those places you kind of have to hold it because you're trying to match up 6 sides, and then you fix one and then one moves, and you just kind of, and I don't want the glue to adhere to the windmill. So I'm just going to let that dry for a minute. I'm going to take this kitty hair off of it, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, now we've got the top on. Let's glue the base to the walkway. So I'm actually using a lot of glue for this. And if things are hard to stick together, it really helps if you wait a minute. When glue is tacky, it has less of a shine to it. See how shiny this is? But if you wait just a few minutes, it'll get a little more dull and it'll adhere much better. But we're making a video, and this time I'm not waiting for that. Okay, and I don't know why I put it on all the sides, but so the base kind of fits in the hexagon on the bottom. You see the tabs on the side kind of define it. Alrighty, that actually looks pretty good. Okay, next we're going to adhere the windmill to the walkway and base. Same thing, apply glue to these tabs. I left one space open kind of to help if you need it for applying the windmill or just to help keep it flatter. Alrighty, now let me find the front this little door. Alrighty, I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to try to center it. If you want, you could put a hexagon at the base of the windmill, and it actually helps it keep a shape better, but it just seems like kind of an unnecessary extra step because people aren't going to notice that as much. So this isn't perfectly centered in there, but it looks good. And really, that's the entire windmill. And you can add, oh, I would add these little extras if you want little doors or you want some bricks on it. I would add those before you glue it together. I think that's simpler. And then, this is the size cheese box I used. A little brie box or camembert. And all you do is kind of round these out. I painted it green. I painted the cheese box green, the same shade of green as actually this one's all painted, but so I painted it green and then adhered the tulips on the side. And I did 2 different layers because I just like dimension. So this is kind of the background layer, and you can put that one on, just apply it with glue, and then add this one on top, and they're kind of centered. So I think it's a nice effect and just gives a tiny bit more depth and support to the tulips. Oh, and in the pattern, maybe you can see, I've got the tulip, so you'd cut it out in green and then add whatever colored tulips you want on either side. So that is how you make the windmill house, and I think it's a lot of fun. And it's easy, so if you want, you could start out with a cardstock version, and then you can make a more realistic version like this one, and which is, you know, much sturdier. But they're both fun and pretty easy. So anyway, I hope that you will make this and enjoy your time doing it. I've got lots of other Dutch projects or kind of springy type projects. For example, these are my Amsterdam houses, like along the canals in Amsterdam. So that pattern's on my blog, and I'll put a link to it in the captions or in the the description below. Alrighty, you'll have fun making your little windmill. Alrighty, this is Lucy, Paper Glitter Glue. Bye.